Is there any legitimate reason, whether, I don't know if it's cultural or historical or what, is there any legitimate reason why there's such thing as a black vote that's so monolith, right? Like, I forget what it was last night, like 90-something%, right? Like, why is that?
Yeah, well, good question. I actually wrote an opinion for the Washington Times. It went pretty strong out there last week. It's called, "Is Black America Caught in a Voting Generational Curse?" And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And where I'm going with that is, historically, as you saw, Biden supposedly got 87% of black votes here in 2020. I say supposedly because that's another subject as it relates to the outcome. And here we are with the lowest black unemployment in the history of the United States, the lowest Latino, and the biggest turnout, which is 41%, Jewish Americans, Asian Americans, the list goes on. And I'm scratching my head like, how in the world did this happen? And I realized that, the left does a great job controlling, as well as the mainstream media, on what messaging they want to put out there, even in social media, the cancel culture. If they don't like something or disagree with something, they cancel it, they push it to the side. And I'll give you a case in point here. For years, I spent many years, well, the first 4 years on MSNBC and CNN. A lot of my Fox viewers and Newsmax viewers like, who's this guy? I was like, yeah, I've been over here fighting the fight over here. And I'll be honest with you, it was bringing a knife to a fight with a gun, usually dealing with a host. It was 4 against 1. But the optimism for me here was the fact that I knew that if I could just reach out into that audience and talk about, listen, you voted this way for many, many years. Why do you keep doing the same old thing? Look at your streets, look at your roads. Why do you keep putting the same people in for decades? And that's an honest question. And so you ask yourself, then why in the world are we still battling this? And I'll tell you why. In the last couple of years especially, it was an all-out assault to suppress guys like me, very successful guys. I'm a self-made millionaire here in Atlanta. I came here with $35 in '88. Many of us, believe it or not, that look like me are doing very well, and we're growing. And so that messaging, as it relates to the president's initiative on the First Step Act and opportunity zones, and as he profoundly said to me in 2015 in his office with many other leaders across the country before he, in 2015, before he became president, was that, listen, look in your communities. You lack the retail commodities. You lack the infrastructure to be successful. And so look what you have been voting on for many years. And a lot of those folks in that room have voted Democrat, which are top pastors and black leaders across the country. And it was almost like you were like, oh my gosh, it sounds like great common sense. But it was trying to pierce through, once again, the generational curse of the Democrat Party having a hold on black voters. And this is how they do it. And so this is what we're pretty much battling against. I don't really look at it as a Republican or Democrat thing, I look at it as just a common sense factor, is to trying to pierce through that and just like, listen, you voted this way for many years. Why don't we look at these particular policies? And you have to admit these are more helpful, whether it be pro-choice in terms of schools, picking your schools, doing a private partnership initiative to build your small business in an opportunity zone. Let's address the social injustices on the sentencing guidelines that's been going on historically, bringing up the Clinton crime bill, where Joe Biden, quote, wrote and authored in '94 that Bill Clinton signed on his desk. Go back a little further. Watch this one. In the '80s, when he introduced powdered cocaine being lesser charged than crack cocaine, 1987. See, people forget about this, which, watch this, created the largest mass incarceration of Black America. So these were the type of messaging put out there. Me and many, especially Black surrogates or the president's inner circle like myself, that were pushing this message. We were pushed out the last couple of years because we knew we were starting to be effective. So the only thing besides that was like, okay, we've got to pierce through the generational curse in the Black voting bloc. How do we do that? And unfortunately, shows like this, we don't get to have these type of conversations. A lot of the networks, they wouldn't dare have these type of open conversations. So I commend you bringing this up because it's a very important subject.
Wow, that was deep and insightful. I want more of that. Like, subscribe, get more.